Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and a very good evening to all of you. Yes, so let's just start today's lesson. We are on the page number 99 of the book How to How to Talk to Anyone. 92 little tricks. So this is trick number 21. How to get them happily chatting. No, just a second. So you can slip away if you want to. Have we read this? Just a second, huh? Okay, no. I think no. Yes. Every father smiles when his little tyke beseeches him at bedtime. Daddy, Daddy, tell me the story again of the three little pigs, or the dancing princess, or how you and Mummy met. Daddy knows Junior enjoyed the story so much the first time, he wants to hear it again and again. Okay, so Junior inspires the following technique called encore, which serves two purposes. Encore, make a colleague feel like a happy dad, and it's a great way to give dying conversation a heart transplant. I once worked on a ship that had Italian officers and mostly American passengers. Each week, the deck officers were required to attend the captain's cocktail party. After the captain's address in charmingly broken English, the officers invariably clumped together, yakking it up in Italian. Okay, so yakking it up. Yakking it up means, where's that? Where is that? Where's the dictionary? Yes, yak. बुलंद आवाज में बात करना. Okay, so yakking it up in Italian. ठीक है, बुलंद आवाज में बात कर रहे थे Italian. Needless to say, most of the passengers' grasp of Italian ended at macaroni, spaghetti, salami, and pizza. As cruiser director, it fell on my shoulders to get the officers to mingle with the passengers. My not so subtle tactic was to grab one of the officer's arms and literally drag him over to a smiling throng of expectant passengers. I would then introduce the officer and pray that either the cat would release his tongue or a passenger would come up with a more original question that, gee, if all your officers are here, who is driving the boat? Never happened. I dreaded the weekly captain's cocktail party. Okay, so one night, sleeping in my cabin, I was awakened by the ship rocking violently from side to side. I listened and engines were off. A bad sign. I grabbed my robe and raced up to the deck. Though the dense fog, I could barely discern another ship not half a mile from us. 5 or 6 officers were grasping the starboard guardrail and leaning overboard. I rushed over just in time to see a man in the moonlight with a bandage over one eye, struggling up over our violently rocking ladder. The officers immediately whisked him off to our ship's hospital. The engines started again and we were on our way. The next morning, I got the full story. A laborer on the other ship, a freighter, had been drilling a hole in an engine cylinder. While he was working, a sharp needle-thin piece of metal shot like a missile into his right eye. The freighter had no doctor on board, so the ship broadcast an emergency signal. International sea laws dictate that any ship hearing a distress signal must respond. Our ship came to the rescue, and the seaman, touching his bleeding eye, was lowered into a lifeboat that brought him to our ship. Dr. Rosie, our ship's doctor, was successfully able to remove the needle from the workman's eyes, thus saving his eyesight. Tell them about the time you... Cut to the next captain's cocktail party. Once again, I was faced with the familiar challenge of getting officers to mingle and make small talk with the passengers. I made my weekly trek to the laconic officers' throng to drag one or two away, and this time my hand fell on the arm of ship's doctor. I hauled him over to the nearest group of grinning passengers and introduced him. I then said, just last week, Dr. Rosie saved the eyesight of a seaman on another ship after a dramatic midnight rescue. Dr. Rosie, I'm sure these folks would love to hear about it. It was like a magic wand. Okay. To my amazement, it was as though Dr. Rosie was blessed instantly with the tongues of angels. His previously monosyllabic broken English became thickly accented eloquence. He recounted the entire story for the growing group of passengers gathered around him. I left the throng that Dr. Rosie enraptured to pull another officer over to an awaiting audience. I grabbed the captain's strip-covered arm, dragged him over to another pack of smiling passengers, and said, Captain Cafiero, why don't you tell these folks about the dramatic midnight rescue you made last week? The cat released Cafiero's tongue, and he was off and running. Back to that throng to get the first officer for the next group. By now I knew I had a winner. Single salvago. Why don't you tell these folks how you awakened the captain at midnight last week for the dramatic midnight rescue? By then it was time to go back to extract the ship's doctor from the first baby. Okay, what is baby? Hujum.
Bivy.
Baby means hujum. Okay, where's that? Baby, and take him to his next pack of passengers. It worked even better the second time. He happily commenced his encore. For the second audience, as he chatted away, I raced back to the captain to pull him away for a second telling with another throng. I felt like the circus juggler who keeps all the plates spinning on sticks. Just as I got one conversation spinning, I had to race back to the first speaker to give him a whirl at another audience. The captain's cocktail parties were a breeze for me for the rest of the season. The three officers loved telling the same story of their heroism to new people every cruise. Okay, so the only problem was I noticed the story is getting longer and more elaborate each time. I had to adjust my timing in getting them to do a repeat performance for the next audience. Play it again, Sam. Encore is what appreciative audiences chant when they want another song from the singer, another dance from the dancer, okay? Another poem from the poet, and in my case, another storytelling from the officers. Encore is the technique you can use to request a repeat story from a prospect, potential employer, or valued acquaintance. While the two of you are chatting with a group of people, simply turn to him and say, John, I bet everyone would love to hear about the time you caught the 30-pound striped bass. Or, Suzanne, tell everyone that story you just told me of how you rescued the kitten from the tree. He or she will, of course, demur. What is demur? معقول شرميلة.
Demure.
Demure. So, of course, demure. Insist your conversation partner is secretly loving it. The subtext, मतलब शर्माने लगेगा वो. The subtext of your request is that a story of yours was so terrific and I want my other friends to hear it. After all, only crowd pleasers are asked to do an encore. Technique number 21, encore. The sweetest sound a performer can hear welling up out of the applause is encore, encore, let's hear it again. The sweetest sound your conversation partner can hear from your lips when you are talking with a group of people is tell them about the time whenever you are at a meeting or party with someone important to you, think of some stories he or she told you, choose an appropriate one from their repertoire that the crowd will enjoy. Then shine the spotlight by requesting a repeat performance. Repertoire. Zakhira.
Repertoire. Repertoire. Repertoire.
Repertoire. Repertoire. Repertoire. ठीक है? Repertoire means zakhira, नुमाइश, zakhira. From there, zakhira. ठीक है? Okay. The added benefit of this technique is that once you have got them up and running with their conversation, you can sneak off and find more interesting company. One word of warning, make sure the story you request is one which the teller shines. No one wants to retell the time when you lost the sale, cracked up the car, or broke up the bar and spent the night in jail. Make sure you request encore is a positive story where they come out the big winner, not the buffoon. The full beauty of this technique will hit you like a happy thunderbolt the first time you use it with someone who is telling a long, wearisome tale. You simply tiptoe away and let the board spin the story on and on with your friend. Of course, your friend may never speak to you again, but that's not germane to this chapter. Germane. What is germane? Germane. Okay, it is not written here. Germane to this chapter. The next technique deals with sharing some positive stories of your life. Okay, how much time? 1, 2. Okay, just read it. Number 2, technique number 22. Trick number 22. How to come across as a positive person. Often people think when they meet someone they like, they should share a secret, reveal an intimacy, or make a confession of sorts to show they are human too. Airing your youthful battle with bedwetting, teeth grinding, or thumb sucking, or your present struggle with gout or goiter supposedly endears you to the masses. Well, sometimes it does. One study showed that if someone is above you in stature, their revealing a foible brings them closer to you. Okay, let's see these words. First is stature. Stature. Stature.
Stature. Stature.
Stature. So, one study showed that if someone is above you in stature, अगर इंसानी जिस्म क़द व क़ामत में, they're revealing a foible. Foible means अनोखा मिजाज, खास अंदाज.
Foible. Foible.
कमजोरी, ठीक है ना, brings them closer to you. Okay, the holes in the bottom of presidential candidate Adlai Stevenson shoes charmed a nation, as did George H.W. Bush's shocking admission that he couldn't stomach broccoli. right? If you are on sure footing, say a superstar who wants to become friends with a fan, go ahead and tell your devotees about the time you were out of work and penniless. But if you are not a superstar, better play it safe and keep the skeleton in the closet until later. People don't know you well enough to put your foible in context. Later in relationship, telling your new friend you have been thrice married, you got caught shoplifting as a teenager and you got turned down for a big job, maybe not big deal, maybe no big deal, and that may be the extent of what could be constructed as black marks on an otherwise flawless life of solid relationship. No misdemeanors and an impressive professional record. But very early in relationship, the instinctive reaction is, what else is coming? If he shares that with me so quickly, what else is he hiding? A closet full of ex-spouses, a criminal record, walls prepared with rejection letters. Your new acquaintance has no way of knowing your confession was a generous act, a well-intentioned revelation on your part. Technique number 22. Accentuate the positive. Okay. When first meeting someone, lock your closet door and save your skeletons for later. Skeleton. First, let's see closet. What is happening? Okay. Closet. Chota kamra. Okay. And then skeleton. Dhacha, pinjra.
Skeleton.
Okay. So lock your closet door and save your skeletons for later. Okay. You and your new good friend can invite the skeletons out, have a good laugh and dance over their bones later in the relationship. But now is the time, as the old song says, to accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative. So far in this section, we have found assertive methods for meeting people and mastering small talk. The next is both an assertive and defensive move to help spare you that pasty smiles we tend to spot when we have no idea what people are talking about. Okay. So yes, I think that's enough for today. Okay. Thank you. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.